Hello and welcome again to another week of Tired Observations. Shez, as you know, I've spent the last 24 to 30 hours doing no work, doing nothing else, just watching testing. How's that for a life choice?
It's pretty good. There's been some fun testing to watch.
I did some homework and I do have some thoughts, some observations, all very objective, by the way. So I'd like to begin by giving you some rapid fire breakdowns of what I thought the teams did, right? Are you ready for this?
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
So let's start in descending order, and this should tell you where I think all the teams are. Haas and Reddy would have done much better. Okay.
Ooh.
That was terrible. Like I don't even know what to do. Like I don't feel like they should be allowed to race this year. Like really, they shouldn't be. But Andretti would have done much better.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't think that Andretti would have done any better this season, given that they have zero knowledge
Wow.
of actually running a car on track just yet. Um, but I agree. Haas have come out of the blocks pretty poorly by their own admission. I think Kevin Magnussen's quote was, he's expecting the
Yeah.
first part of the season to be bad, but the whole season as a whole to be okay. So maybe there's a bit more to come.
Williams. Meh. No, they were. I don't quite know what to make of it. I did have some expectations going into it, but it sounds like they're going to have a slow start to the season, but I guess that's to be expected in some ways. And it just was like, not impressive, not impressive by any stretch.
I mean, they've come in. They were the last team to show their hand in terms of their car with a cheeky Bahrain shakedown the day before the test. James Vowles had talked about the fact that he thinks that he's asked the team to be aggressive with their development on the technical side. The car looks very much like the path that everybody else has gone down. And listening to Alex Albon on the live feed, it sounds like they've still got a way to come. And even he was saying that there's a big difference between what we can do and what the top teams are doing. So there's still a gap there.
My next team is Alpine, and I just have a three-letter, sort of word to describe them, which is IDK. I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I have no idea. They have what appears to be a brand new concept. Looks like they're starting from scratch. It looks like they've arrived in 2024, having just read the regulations that went into effect in 2022. I have no idea what they're gonna do.
I mean, you can argue that for a lot of the teams on the grid, but I have to say, Alpine's probably the team I have the least interest in. Like
Yeah.
they have a parent company that seems happy, not happy, but despite all of the bullishness at the launch of the car and the fact that Bruno Famin seems to have a bit more autonomy from the board at the top, the car and the drivers still seem very middle of the road at the moment. Um, I agree. I don't know what to expect, but I'm not sure how much interest I have in them because I think they're going to be in that mid pack again. They may be towards the front of it, but they're not going to be in the rapidly evolving front
I mean,
second to the front group that includes McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari. So
my next team is Stake F1, right? Is that the real name? I think it is. Um, the Green Lantern. They kind of look nice, huh? I like how they look. I have no idea how they're gonna do, but they look nice in the sun setting, sort of night running of those tests, right? A couple of days. They look really good. They really do.
yeah, you can't really miss them. And actually, Bottas had an eye-catching long run
He did.
on day two. I'm not sure I'm going to read too much into that. Um, but also right at the end, uh, Joe Guan Yu decided to take all the fuel out of his car probably and put himself in the podium places for for fastest
Okay.
time in day three.
There you go. I mean, there's one podium for Stake already. That's much better than Alfa Romeo.
Well,
My next team is RB or V carb. Sounds like a beverage I need to drink a lot of. Top 10 finish on the cards.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I mean, they
Um,
are proverbially the sixth team, right? If you look at Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and then Aston Martin. But I think that they seem like they have the RB19, which Red Bull probably decided to put in the clearance bin somewhere. So
yeah, so this is it. They've clearly taken a huge inspiration from last year's Red Bull, and Ricardo was well on it over the
mhm.
course of the three days, and you can see that he looks very comfortable in the car, and the car, even as he describes it, is doing what he wants it to do.
My next team is Aston Martin. Hiding something? Seems like they've not
Um,
shown their cards, right?
no, I agree with that. I think they're probably not showing their hand quite in the same way that they did last season, where Alonso was topping the timesheets towards the end of testing. I still think they've got a decent car.
Next team, Mercedes, starting from square one. It's been
Uh,
really hard to know where they're at, right? I mean, it is conceivable given all of their history and their way of going about racing in general that they will at some point be in the mix. But sitting here today, it's a little bit hard to kind of read exactly where they're at.
yeah, I think they're the team with the most to do in terms of having to get to know their car. I think at the beginning of the test, they were definitely working out what setup they needed, how they were going to hone that. And that seemed to gradually improve. The waywardness of the car, there still seemed to be a bit of skittishness at the back of the car. So it looked like the drivers still weren't able to fully trust the rear end, which is what they were complaining about last year. Again, from what I've read, it sounds like they were better than they were this time last season, but still not completely on top of that.
My next team, McLaren. Fast, but also hiding something perhaps. And they don't seem like they're wanting to show all their cards either. But just looking back at where they were this time last year, I think they're miles ahead of where they're at. And we've talked about this in the past. I mean, they are effectively building on a concept that came along halfway through last year, and it does seem like they're primed to do better. Now it really just is a question mark of how much better because they don't seem to be wanting to show everything just yet.
Yeah, but that whole they're miles better than they were last season at this time last season. I think Jolyon Palmer brought this up in the day two coverage that we can't really assess McLaren based on where they were this time last season because by their own admission they were miles behind. They'd messed it up and they knew it and they were due to bring an upgrade, which actually was phenomenal in the middle of the season. That's actually what we need to compare the car
Mhm.
to. And from there, actually, they do look like they've made some steps forward. They have done their own thing a little bit. That side pod arrangement with the underbite, they're one of only two teams that have gone in that direction, where everybody else has thought that Red Bull were just going to bring a pure evolution of their car from last season and have just bolted on something similar to that.
My next team, which is Ferrari. And the phrase I have for them is on another planet, which is not mine. All credit to Fred Vasseur for putting that out there in one of the press conferences. And it does seem and look like, I mean, they're not going to get caught up in those times that were put up there. That's not something we can go off of. But it does seem like they have finally managed to get over some of their tire deg issues. And if that is to be believed, then I think there's great reason for Ferrari to be optimistic because they have shown that they're competitive and even at times better than Red Bull over the course of a one lap pace, right? And if they can somehow, some way, keep up some of that ability in the race run, then I think there's no reason to be anything but optimistic about their chances being competitive, especially with Red Bull. I think that they can look forward, not necessarily backward. So I for one, am really pleased to hear that, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that that actually does end up being the case.
Yep. Yeah, certainly. So the big talking point that came up on social media after day two was an article on the race from Mark Hughes comparing Carlos Sainz's long run and a comparable long run that Sergio Perez did, where Sainz's average was about a second per lap quicker over a 57 lap race, which is what Bahrain will be. And I think he's clarified that what he means is that Red Bull clearly were not a second a lap slower than Ferrari. There's something going on there. But even if you take that out of it, it suggests that Ferrari do have something competitive to bring to the table over a race distance this season without actually losing that much in terms of one lap pace. And actually, that that's interesting for me because it means that what we talked about Ferrari being a bit too conservative might be exactly what they needed to do. They've actually done the thing that they wanted to do, which was to build on what they had last season without losing the good stuff. Which if they have kept their one lap pace and added some long run pace to it, then great. And I hope it's even better in 2025,
Oh,
is all
there
I'm
you
going
go.
to say.
I was just gonna say, call back to last week when this is the quote from Chaz. Ferrari, make it good for Hamilton. My final team observation is obviously Red Bull. And the word I have for them is dominant. I think that there's nothing that we have seen that would give us cause to pause. And any concerns that would kind of be out there. I mean, it's just even Max is like, he's not saying it this way, but it sounds like, this has been kind of cool, but let's come out here next week and kick some butt. That really seems to be the case. There are a lot of people on the grid that believe that. It just seems a bit ominous in some ways.
Yeah, it all just looked a bit too easy for them, didn't it? They just turned up, smacked everybody by a second in on day one, and then didn't really look, yeah, but Perez looked like he wasn't quite at the level that Max was, but it never really seemed to be particularly in doubt that they were still the quickest package on the grid.
They totally were.
And Max sort of turned up day three and just did the business again. Um, yeah, ominous is the word. Sure, you can place all the caveats that this is just testing and we don't know what the fuel loads are, we don't know what the engine modes are, we don't know what the run plans are, but you can certainly get some patterns. And I've never seen pre-season testing where one team has absolutely blitzed everybody else and then been nowhere the next season. The closest I can think of is Ferrari in 2020, where everyone thought, they were going to be miles ahead of everybody else. And then there was that massive gap between pre-season testing and the first race. And all of the reliability issues that Mercedes were having suddenly meant that they were ridiculously dominant in 2020. So
Ridiculous.
that's the biggest reversal I've seen
Yep.
in recent seasons. And I just don't see that happening with Red Bull.
A few rapid fire observations just outside of you. I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as I can.
Sure.
Number one, get rid of hard tires, please. Why do we have them? We don't need them in testing. We don't need them, period. Like I'm like, let's just do mediums and soft. Like nobody likes them. Cars look bad. Everyone struggled on it. I know you need it for long runs, but we'll just throw on another medium tire, go on another long run. Like, let's just do that. Can we get rid of it? Even the Red Bull looked bad on hard tires. Like, even the Red Bull. Like, can we just get rid of it, period? Like, just get rid of it. Just
Depends, I guess, on the track, doesn't it? So Bahrain's going to be C1 to C3, is that right? So it's going to
C1,
be
C.
the
This
hardest compound in the
C1
yeah.
out, out.
But I quite like having a random tire in there like that because there'll be
Uh,
one team on the grid that will be like, we're going to make this work, and
I
then they'll
know,
whack it on.
but it's proven. Like even last year, it's proven not to be a good tire. I mean, generally, I'm all good with having a random tire. I love the idea of a random tire. Maybe just throw in a surprise tire every race day. That's a great idea by you, by the way. Just maybe another soft compound, maybe another medium compound. But the C1, the hardest of that, it's ridiculous. No one really likes it. It doesn't even
It's always
work.
it's always been like that though. The hard tire when it was orange marked back in the day, no one ever used it. But Pirelli have got such a big range now that I'm cool with it. Whatever they bring. And actually, if they bring a tire that is not suitable and the teams all complain, I love it. Bring it.
All
Have the
right.
teams complain more.
Um, Ferrari, drain covers, collision course, yet again. I mean, good God, we can't catch a break with this stuff. Like they're literally out there. Like I am now starting this theory that the FIA and Formula One are out there to get Ferrari in some way. Like they're just somehow placing these drain covers that only manage to explode right over a Ferrari going. Like that's just it. What is going on, man? Fix it. Fix it. Really
Bloody
bad.
hell.
It looks really bad. Like it shouldn't happen again. Thank God it wasn't as bad as it was in Vegas. Um,
Indeed.
Logan Sargent on a short leash. Checo Perez also probably on a short leash. All the meanwhile, Danny Rick lurking in the background. He is there. He's looking for it. Guenther Steiner, we miss you. I know he's going to join the German broadcast, but it was different having him
Oh,
in
yeah, it's not the
there.
same, is it?
It's not the same. We love seeing him. And I don't even know what next year's Drive to Survive will look like without him being in there. It's a big, big loss. I hope he somehow finds a way to kind of get mixed into the I don't call it the mainstream, but maybe the English broadcast in some way. The international broadcast would be good. Um, Speaking of broadcast, F1 TV team strong. They're really good job. Really enjoyed their coverage. Really like the announcement that they're bringing in more programming as well. That sounds really really exciting.
And and
Um,
they're and they're quite financially astute as well. The subscription for F1 TV Pro,
it
it's a joke compared to what I have to
is.
pay back home in the UK. It's a silly
Don't
amount of money.
do not say it out loud. Do not say that. They're listening. Okay. They do not say that.
Oh,
Shh.
you're worried they're going to up the price for you? I don't think so.
Um,
But
Speaking of
I will always miss David Croft and Martin Brundle if we went to full F1 TV Pro and I lost those two, I'd be gutted.
I can understand. Speaking of David Croft, congratulations. I learned through the announcement of him missing 3 races that he's getting married. Congratulations, David Croft. All the best to you. And yeah, certainly should take the time off. 24 race season is a long time.
Yeah, yeah,
So taking
yeah.
a break is not a bad idea. It's, a lot of
But
those are triple headers as well. So
it tells you something though, doesn't it? You know, that even for somebody that hasn't missed a race since, 2010, he hasn't missed a race. This season's just so
so
grueling.
much. Yeah, it is
It's
grueling.
so much, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a really telling development. But congratulations to him. I really hope he gets married in Stevenage. That'd be amazing.
damn it. You're in Australia right now, but okay, fair enough. Uh, uh, here's another neat takeaway from testing that only someone that's watching for 24 hours can take away, which is Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Taylor Swift, collision course. There's a music career in the making, and I suggest that both Charles and Lewis and Ferrari somehow managed to get Taylor Swift in there. Oh, by the way, put the music career aside. Taylor Swift has really been lucky for the Kansas City Chiefs. Same color. We could use it. 2025. Make it happen, okay? Make it happen. Like, let's just get Taylor Swift. I think that we should allow her to sit in wherever she wants in the Ferrari, pits or wherever, pit wall, put her wherever she wants. That's what we want. As long as she's in Ferrari red, that's good. We'll take it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Taylor Swift going on in Australia at the moment. She's touring here.
That's right.
Nobody can get a ticket. It's been Tay Tay mania
It has been.
down in Melbourne. Um, yeah, Taylor Swift is the next Ferrari team principal. Yeah, yeah, I
I
can see
love
it.
that too. I love that. I would just make her a co-principal. I'm sure that, I mean, look, she's got better things in life to do, but just be
Does she though?
co-principal, show up
Does she
whenever.
though?
I mean, she was at all the Kansas City Chiefs games, and the Chiefs had a dominant run, and they're now a dynastic team here in the NFL. So why not? We need some glory days back in Ferrari. So like, give her whatever she wants. I say give her Italian citizenship, whatever it takes. Just get her to kind of show up, and that's it. You win. Max Red Bull dominant doesn't matter. Taylor Swift. We do it. Let's do it. Make it
There is
happen,
that.
Lewis.
That's the performance advantage that everybody is
That's
missing.
it.
Taylor
That's it.
Swift. Okay.
So my final thing is I've enjoyed testing, really. I just enjoy, even though I can't watch all of it, but I will miss some of these phrases a lot. And they are, number one, we don't know their race plan. No one knows what their race plans are, right? Like that has come up like 15 times. We don't know what fuel load they're running, right? We don't know what setup they're running. Like I will miss this because every time you asked one of the drivers or the team principals, that was some form of that standard answer would just come in, right? That would happen. Another phrase that I'll miss a lot is it's just testing. The times don't matter. Unless of course it's Red Bull. Then we know what's happening. But you know, and then go ahead.
You could just put your blinkers on and just say Red Bull can't be that far ahead. It's just testing.
It's just
You
testing.
know,
That's right.
you would you,
That's
it's
right.
definitely the most glass half full view to take.
Yeah, when it comes to Red Bull, it's, you know, it is what it is. So, final couple ones here. Power Hour, which didn't end up
Oh, I
being so, but I
love
loved
that.
it. I loved
The
it.
power hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the thing they have in cricket where
Oh,
where
power
they
play. Yeah,
power play?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Bring in
Power
the
Hour,
power
I love it.
hour.
I love it.
Yeah. Bring all the party modes. But I think, Amar, they call that qualifying.
Yeah, they do call it. Uh, my final takeaway and final fun phrase that I will miss from testing is sandbagging. I heard that a lot. They might be sandbagging. And speaking of sandbagging, the RB20 in the hands of Max Verstappen. Sandbagging, and despite looking great, and oh, by the way, it's over. It's over.
Oh,
Forget it.
actually, my favorite quote of this testing season came from Jack Benyon at the race, who said, if Red Bull want to sandbag, all they have to do is put Sergio Perez in the car.
And oh my God. That's a bad one, man. That's cruel. That's cruel. Anyway, those are this week's tired observations. Thanks for
Oh,
listening.
Amar,
Yeah.
no. And in a change to our scheduled viewing, I've got a question for you.
Oh my God. Tired observations, extended edition. Let's go.
One question. If you could drive any of those cars just on vibes alone, which one would it be?
Oh my goodness. On vibes alone. So we're not talking about
Not even, I'm not talking about performance or just which one would you want to have because it just looks the most fun to drive.
you know, I would normally say Ferrari, but I just love the way the steak car looks right now. And it sounds so great. Like I'd want we have Steak and Shake here in the US. I feel like that's another sponsorship to just kind of get on there because it's two different steaks. I get it, but it's just, yeah, I love the steak car. It just looked pretty cool. I have no idea how good it'll be. Probably not very good, but you know, it just felt like a fun car to get in and out of. Like I could kind of put a nice dark suit and get in there and look pretty cool, at least for 2 seconds. How
Yeah,
about you?
right. I'm gonna be really boring, man. The car, like honestly, but as soon as it came out at the launch, I thought I want to drive that W15. I just want to sit in it and drive it around as hard as it goes.
I can see that.
It just looks like a car that shouts, "Drive me," to me anyway. But and I don't know if it's just because of the dark colors.
The dark color, yeah.
I definitely used to think that in the early noughties, the best livery of any car was the Minardi. I used to love that Minardi. It looks so fast, even though it's the
It
slowest car
never
on the
was.
grid. Nah. But I still look at that car and think, yeah, I'd love to get in that car and drive it. And those were the vibes the Merc gave to me over testing. Absolutely based on nothing and probably won't equate to anything, but that's the one that I wanted to have a little go in if I could. There
I
you
love
go.
it. I love it. I do. Anyway, these are this week's extended tired observations. Thanks for listening.